Hello, and welcome to this bonus episode of Time to Speak. I've had such a wonderful time recording with my very special guests, so I thought I'd compile some of my favourite moments to share with you all. Enjoy. In this episode, you will hear from Bianca Robinson, Jacques Sunderland, Gillian Robson, Jamie Marshall, Vasavi Nanthakumar, and Melissa Jacques. When I asked you the question, I said, how did it feel speaking for the first time? And you said that
in front of people and actually,
yeah. I mean, because you've just responded there with so much information to hold all of that information. And I know you're extremely empathetic to hold all of that and such empathy for the people who are struggling and then stand and deliver and inspire. That must have been quite overwhelming the first time you did it.
yeah, and so it's that very first thing I said, which was I felt like I didn't know anything about anything. That's a
Yeah.
huge imposter syndrome right there.
Yes.
Because who am I? Because who the hell am I? I did a bit of sofa surfing in London when I was about 23 years old, but nothing that felt that I was really close to the brink. But and I'd grown up in New Zealand and I'd never really seen a lot of homelessness in New Zealand at that time. So how did I feel? Yep, imposter syndrome. I had done public speaking in my former career and life. So I knew that if I got my facts right, I could deliver with conviction.
Mm.
And I thought, okay, well, if I'm thrown in, because I was really thrown in the deep end, I didn't start this charity, just to give context. I was drafted in after Andy Preston, the Middlesbrough businessman who started it. He'd built it up over 4 years himself in his spare time voluntarily. And he's a high profile guy, ended up being the elected mayor of Middlesbrough in 2018, 2019, 2020, 21. He threw me in the deep end, really. And he was like, Bianca, you just need to do this. And so I think I like the challenge of that. So the first time I stood up and talked, yep, there was imposter syndrome. I never talk from a script. So I have the beats that I'm going to hit, and the kind of numbers and the statistics in my head, the story that I'm going to tell. I have that there. I think I was absolutely crap. But bear in mind, I've had 104 of these under my belt now, Audrie, and lots of speaking opportunities. So, probably the first year, I wasn't getting it right, but I had lots of opportunities to hone it, refine it, see what worked, see what hit that emotional nerve with the audience. So, yeah, but the first time, probably 0 stars.
I love what you say, though, about repetition, because that's how you learn to speak, isn't it? You learn to speak by speaking. Yeah. So you can spend so much time thinking about it, plotting, preparing, which I think is very important. That's what I advocate. But if you don't actually get up and put it into practice over and over again, it's very difficult to improve. And it's like a muscle as well. You need to keep flexing it. If you get out of practice, you might lose confidence again, and then you've got to start all over again. So it's good that you had that repetition over time.
And lucky, because, really lucky that I'm in a role where I get to do that and keep seeing if things still work and keep changing it and refining it and, packing that.
Yeah, I also think you're, I'm not sure the word is lucky, actually. I think it's a good thing that you're in the position you're in, because what you're talking about will never be a waste of time for anybody listening. It's never going to be just hot air. It's always going to bring value. This is a big thing for me. I really struggle with speakers who speak for the sake of speaking because they want to be seen. That's never going to be your cause. Your cause is, I need to stand here and say these things to you to help you understand, to deliver a clear message and challenge you to take action. And I love that about what you do, what you have to do. It's brilliant. It's admirable. And in what you've just said there, you've demonstrated a key technique, which was when you speak to somebody, you help them to imagine. So you use the word imagine, and then you help them to create a visualization of what it would be like if you got to do what you wanted to do, and if you were able to work with these people, so they could then connect with it in their own minds, so create a vision, but also connect with it emotionally. And when you've got those two things, you create a greater impact. It's not just words that fall flat and they might hear. It's something that they hear, it's something that they see, it's something that they feel. And they can take that away with them, and it's going to keep prodding at them until, you know, they take an action or come back and ask another question. Sometimes you gain a foot in the door, don't you, if you just create an opportunity for them to want to ask another question. Then it's the start of a really fruitful conversation very often.
And I feel like, you know, you've hooked them in then. I think you know that you've got them on board when they start asking questions.
Yeah.
And I feel more comfortable then, because it's not just me.
Yes.
I can answer their questions. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, who wants a speech? You don't just want a one-sided speech, do you? You want a two-way conversation. Even actually, just thinking about it, when I'm thinking about when I speak or when I train other people to speak and deliver a keynote, usually everyone's come to listen to you. I always say it's never just you. It's a two-way street. There's an interaction there, whatever you do. And it's always got to be about them. It's never about you standing up there. It's about what you give. It's the value that you bring every time. Something which we talked about really early on, and I really love about you, is authenticity. That you have to show up as you. So you don't change yourself to fit in with maybe the people that work for the council or businessmen and women at a networking meeting or something like that. You don't suddenly put a suit on and show up. When somebody asks you to speak, you stand on that stage as you, the way you want to be seen. I think it's so important that you do hold on to that authenticity, because you're representing yourself, but you're also representing the brand of the organization that you lead. And I see that in you. I love it when you speak. We've talked about this. You've got great diction, but you hold on to that accent, the way you speak. It's very much you. It's where you're from. It keeps you grounded. You wear the clothes that you wear to work, your trainers, your joggers, your t-shirt, so that they see who you are day to day and what you're all about. And I love that. I absolutely love that. It sets you apart. How do you feel about it? It doesn't really matter what I think, does it? How do you feel?
It makes me feel really comfortable, and I think that's important as a speaker or somebody that's representing like their organisation or even themselves. And I know we've spoke about this in over years, haven't we, Audrie? And I just don't want to try and be somebody that I'm not. So turn up as I am. You know, I'm prepared in my mind for what I want to say and what I want to talk about. But this is me. If you come to visit me at work, I will be in my shorts or my trackies and my training cave t-shirt or my training cave hoodie, and I will be. If I'm at a competition with my boxers, I'll be in my fight team tracksuit. Do you know? So that is me. To be honest with you, I'm probably that at home as well. So yeah, I feel like I'm wearing fancy dress if I've got a shirt and trousers on. So I'm at most comfortable in my sports gear. And I think it is important, yeah, to be yourself. And it won't look right, would it, if I were turning up to give a talk about, you know, my the boxing gym, but I'm there in, I don't know, like I say, shirt and trousers. I just don't think it won't match. It wouldn't match.
And I think it's important there that we're really clear on that. You're not showing up because you want to really make a point. You're showing up just because you want to be authentic. But more importantly than that, you want to feel comfortable. I mean, it's hard work trying to be someone you're not. That's a lot of energy wasted. So the fact that you feel comfortable when you're standing in front of other people is just so important, isn't it? I mean, it's difficult enough having to get up there and speak. So you're at a point now where Training Cave feels really established, and you've got that sort of ongoing connection with your community and young people, and then right through to like people in their 80s, and you're moving into a bigger space. And I'm thinking sometimes it's really easy to forget the impact that we're making, and also where you came from. And I'm just thinking of, can you recall a time when you thought to yourself, oh yes, I'm really making a difference with this person? And I mean, when did that happen?
There will be hundreds of stories and examples, but the one that always like really stands out for me with the first employability program that we ran out of his gym, and it was a funded program. We had to get the young people together ourselves through some of the services that we've got contacts with, and it were a young person. He'd come to us with about 15, 16 at the time, autistic. I think that's important to talk about because of the impact that I saw it had and the change in him. And he was travelling over an hour to come to the gym, but it was mum dropping him off to begin with. She was bringing him. And it just didn't take long. It took a few weeks, and I just really noticed his confidence like grow, like almost straight away. And I don't know if it really felt comfortable around me, and also some of the young people that were also in the group. Now we had some young offenders in there, we had some kids in care, so they were all from different backgrounds. This lad was from a really good background, but obviously he'd struggled like with his needs. But after a while, his mum rung me one day, and she just says, "Oh, Jack, he's I was going to say his name because they won't mind, but Ben's actually wanting to make his own way over. Like, he's absolutely he's been terrified of public transport all his life, but he wants to make his own way over to the gym, like, because I can't bring him this week. Are you okay with letting us know when he turns up?" So yeah, like absolutely fine. But to make the journey from his house, it was like I say, it was over an hour drive, but he had to get a bus and a train and then a taxi to finish it off. So to think that he was scared of public transport, but he was going to do whatever he could to get to the gym, just to come for a couple of hours. And then that just became a repeated thing. He was just making his own way to the gym. He started to come he'd come a few days during the week for the employability program, but then he would come a couple of times on a night into his classes. And he just started making friends in the gym. I had a really good connection with him personally. And then I've seen him go on to get a job as a civil engineer, like within a civil engineering company. I've seen him go away with his friends abroad, getting an aeroplane and stuff like that. And I do think the gym played a big part in that, and it was just giving somebody that opportunity in a space that suited him at that time in his life. And that's when I just realised like we were really onto something, and I thought this just needs to keep happening. You know, like I think your typical stories from boxing gyms, you can get that coming from an hard background, and you know they've come through the youth offending and all that. We've got those stories. But I think a big part of us at Training Cave is we do deliver a lot of work for those with special needs, and we've got a lot of stories through that as well.
The thing is, you don't work with them to stay, do you? You work with them so that they can fly and be off doing their own thing. And
yeah, that's always been my mindset, even as a personal trainer. I used to think they shouldn't need me forever. They should need me for a certain amount of time and then go away and do their own thing. And yeah, I see that like with the young people that we work with, we want them to leave better than they came and prepared.
So after Dragon's Den, and you go with Sarah, and who was the other person?
Tuka.
Then what?
Then, well, actually, Tuka became really poorly during the show, he actually pulled out of the show because of his health and was in hospital for a while. So all the deals that he did within the den, he just backed out of because he couldn't, health-wise, he couldn't follow it through, whatever. So it was just Sarah. But then Sarah has an investor in her business who was part of the whole demographic, I'm guessing, of her being on the show. So, it was a guy called Richard Harpin, who is home serve, and we ended up having to go and have a Dragon's Den moment with him and his sidekick, and that was just like it was so hard. And actually, it was the day I'd just lost my little dog. So my little dog had just died in my arms, and I had to go and have this intense interview with this like
Oh.
mega amazing guy. And all I could think, I cried all the way there. I looked a wreck when I got there, and how on earth I got through it, but I did. And then I cried all the way home. So, and came home and buried my dog. But the guy loved us and probably liked I don't know. I never told him at all. I didn't, because obviously you keep your personal life, you try and keep it away from business as much as possible. But, and he loved it. So he really wanted to, be part of our journey, which was again, another, we felt really credible for that. But then, after that, COVID hit. So, with COVID, and after the show, once the airing of Dragon's Den went on TV, we got loads of traction, we got loads of orders, which you're aware of because they do warn you of that. And then just after that, we had a professor from Newcastle University that approached us, who knew Dr. Jacques and Joe, who were behind our formula, who we'd worked with. And he knew them, and he knew that the credibility of the formula. And he contacted us and said, I really want to work on your formula. I really want to get more data for you. I think that, your formula will, I've got a sample here, and you're not shouting about it enough. We can get you a lot more evidence for this. So we'd love to work with you. So we decided, and because COVID hit around the same time, we decided that actually, let's just go with this, because we'd need a lot of money. We were already, really, we'd use credit cards and as what else, taking loans to pay for the testing and to pay for where we were. And we'd really put ourselves on the breadline. And so to go down this route, we felt was probably better, because we were going to be, we had launched the brand, obviously, but this way the formula would be a little bit more, it would just be more credible. So that's what we did. And we worked with Newcastle University for 3 years. And so now we're wanting to sell the formula.
Wow. Amazing. How wonderful to have gone through such a rigorous process and be holding on to this. I want to call it a secret formula, but it's not really a secret, but nobody knows what's in it. There's not another one like it, and there's not another one that can do what it does. And it just feels, to me, amazing, fascinating. I've just got so much respect for you for pushing through continuously. Like, as you see a problem, you find a way to work around it and keep going forward. I mean, out of what you've just said there are so many lessons for people starting a business or following a dream or having a passion to fulfill a certain purpose. And I'm just thinking about what you said there. We borrowed money, we'd use credit cards. I mean, at the point that you were doing that, did you have full confidence in yourself and the formula? So you knew it was almost like a momentary risk. You knew that in the end it would pay off, or were you actually really unsure, but you were just going with it anyway? I mean, what was the psychology around it at the time?
I think we believed in our formulators, which was massive. But as far as myself, I was really not confident, as in a person in general. And so I was kind of really doubting myself whether I could actually go out there into the commercial world when I had my own business in my own local area, and there would be little old me that would be just coming out with this formula. So it was very, very hard, financially, personally, the whole emotions that go behind it. And you have to have I guess a sense of of drive to think that actually, do you know what, I'm going to do this. You know, I've got a really good story, which, by the way, I didn't realize that my story would be so powerful as what it actually is, because I was just thinking, yeah, I've got skin cancer, and I want a product that I can use myself, but I really want to educate people into, wearing an SPF every day. And the added bonus of this is that you will actually get a tan, but without the damage to your skin.
Yeah.
It was like I guess now when I look back, it is a bit of a pinch me moment that I'm kind of sat here 12 years later, I guess.
I'm just taking a quick pause from this episode to tell you about a brand new free digital product I've launched just for you. I've put together a collection of some of the best speaking tips I've collated from decades as a speaker, trainer, and coach. These tips are a fantastic place to start to improve your skills and transform your communication game. As I said, it's completely free. Click the first link in the description and pop in your email, and I'll send it over to you. I've also put the link to my newsletter in the description, so check that out too. Now, on with the episode. In that time, you've decided that communication is really important. So I think you'd already decided it, but we sort of crossed paths, didn't we, sort of 3 or 4 years ago, which was actually at a networking event, and I was chairing a panel which you were on, which actually you were brilliant on that panel. You might not have felt it at the time, but I remember you saying, I think I could do with some help because I want to speak more. Why did you want to speak more? Why did you want to have more of a public voice at that time?
So I think we'd kind of reached a point where, because we were consciously not selling on fear and those sort of things, we needed a platform that would allow us to communicate some of our values and to build trust with prospects and potential clients ultimately. In our industry, if you knew everything we know about tech, you probably wouldn't work with us in the first place. So a lot of the people we work with, or clients that would come to us, either aren't interested in the tech, or they don't know where to start. So when you see a website, in my view, and it's just tech after tech after tech, if you don't know what you're looking for, you don't know what good looks like, it's really hard to understand who's going to be good, who's going to work with you, and who you should avoid. So we kind of lent into this idea of having more of a brand that people could learn from. We could be open and educate, and the long-term aim is we'd educate people enough, we'd build enough trust that eventually they would just say, look, we're aligned, can you come and work with us? And I don't think there's anyone internally at Everon that was natural at that. Obviously, the majority of the team are from technical backgrounds, which probably means our soft skills maybe need more work than some industries, like creative industries. And yeah, just being one of the two, I guess, co-founders and leaders, we kind of decided it had to be one of us, and either I drew the short straw or my skill set was best suited to it, albeit it was a loosely aligned skill set. So yeah, we met when I'd sort of made a point of going out and throwing myself into things, and obviously you chaired that AI panel, I think it was. And I always knew that if I was going to do more, I'd want more help and training, and I'd need to learn more to get better. And then we started working together, I think probably within 6 months, maybe.
Yeah, we did. And you've done a lot of speaking since then.
Yeah, obviously, I think we worked together for my first sort of solo presentation, didn't we, initially? And then I've done a few more since then.
We looked at your values, didn't we?
Yes. As part of that, yeah, we did a whole exercise around values.
Yeah, and the reason why I do that is because I want people to speak in alignment with their own values, but especially when they're speaking for their own business, they've got to figure out how they are personally aligned with that business.
So we already had some values at Everon. I think we maybe had 8, so it was quite a lot, and it was maybe a bit too complex. But the 4 or 5 we boiled it down to, for me personally, sort of already aligned, albeit there were a bit more wordy in the Everon ones, but the two were aligned. So I think it was really interesting to see that my value or my business partner's values had already kind of applied to Everon, albeit not consciously. So that was really interesting. And the other thing for me, it highlighted, or I guess doubled down on, was the fact that I didn't want to be salesy and cheesy and clickbaity with the marketing and the messaging that I did. So it was a good exercise to prove I was authentic and make sure that those things came through in the way that I communicate.
Yeah. I think sort of our language is so important, isn't it? And so what we say has to sort of fit with the language that we put on a website, or that we put in the LinkedIn profile about ourselves, or the verbiage that we use in marketing materials for our business. They all need to all fit together so that, again, you can build that deep trust with your clients, which I think is why that exercise is so important. A lot of people sort of poo-poo values nowadays. Maybe they're a little bit bored of hearing it, but I think when you check in with them, or even just return back and have a good look and sort of see if things are still the way that they were, or have things moved, have they evolved, do we need to evolve our language, that's when you get that real, honest, authentic communication and connection with the people that you work with. It's so funny because last week I was in a workshop and we were talking about a political leader. So I critique, in my workshops, in my masterclasses, I critique political leaders on the way that they're speaking. And there was one particular speaker, who was English, by the way, which is not surprising at all, whose voice was completely monotone. Like, there was no shift in the sound of their voice. And that's a lot to do with the fact that they just weren't connected with the speech they were saying, which is not great. You should really know what you're saying and why you're saying it as a political leader. But on this occasion, this leader was just so monotone and boring. And everyone agreed it had no impact. In fact, they couldn't actually remember what he'd said. So thinking about you and when you speak, if you're so aligned and connected with what you're saying, the message, your audience is really going to hear it, aren't they? And respond and react and have more questions, or be changed, or be moved to ask you a question and come and meet you, or something like that. Have you found that you've got more connection with people now that you're going out to speak more?
I'd like to think so. I think it's a hard thing to probably quantify, but I would definitely think I am. I'd say the flip side of it as well is, because I'm more aware, when I listen to somebody else speak, I can see whether or not I'm connected to them, and I can see how passionate they are by how they speak now, because I look for the markers that I know I would try to measure myself on. So you can definitely see, I think, in other people, and I hope people can definitely see it in me when I speak with people and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that awareness that you're talking about, that's brilliant. I think awareness is like 90% of the winning formula when it comes to great speaking. How did you get on with your small team? How did you go from being your father's daughter to being, oh, I'm in charge now, and you have to do what I tell you to do? How did that transition feel?
It was a weird one. I think with our office team, we were based above one of our petrol stations a while ago, and we bought the office we're in now in 2022. So I kind of set it up and interviewed and hired a couple of the people that work for us now. So they came in knowing that I was kind of there, like, managing them and stuff. I don't think I'm I'm not the stereotypical manager. It's more of a friendly office. So I think it's good, but there is a level of, okay, we need to go to hell with this bad news. Not all the time, but yeah, it's weird. And still quite a lot of the people that do work for us in all the petrol stations have been with us for a long time. So all of them is still a bit different, because a couple of them have known me since I was like 14. So yeah, it's a different side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you came to me actually saying that you wanted to work with me, there were a few things, but one of the things you talked about was you wanted to develop the capability of saying no.
Yeah.
So being assertive and saying no in your role. Do you feel that you've grown into your role a little bit more and you're more okay with being
Yeah.
assertive and saying no?
Yeah. I think so. I think I am. I think there's still times where I'm like, oh, maybe I should have done this differently. But I'm definitely learning, and I'm trying not to respond to things quickly. Give myself a second to think about what I actually want to say instead of going with, whatever's coming to mind first. But yeah, I'm quite bad at that. But you've told me this before as well. I think I get told a lot that I'm too nice, not too nice, but like softer or whatever compared to my sister. She's like more direct and stuff. And I think you said it before, that it's fine to be a different kind of leader. And I think years from now, we'll work together to bounce off each other and see who does take on which roles. And that's fine. Just trying not to take that all into my head, basically, and look at it badly. Doesn't
Yeah.
be a negative thing.
Yeah. So this different kind of leader thing that we've talked about, this comes out of a conversation where we've talked about you being a natural introvert, isn't it?
Yeah.
And actually, so many people that I work with who are brilliant leaders, business owners, ambassadors, change makers, they are introverts. And somehow what they've done is found a way to show up and be exactly who they need to be in the right way for them and for the people around them to lead that business brilliantly. And I applaud it. I think it's excellent. You might remember me saying that actually, if you are that kind of leader, you're more likely to take a step back and hear what everybody else has to say in the room,
Yeah.
process it, and then speak with value.
Yeah.
I think that's you.
I would take that. I think that's the kind of person I want to be. I don't want to be the direct, and I don't want to be too like, the stereotypical CEO kind of person you see on TV and stuff. I don't think that's me. I think that what you've just describes me better. And I think I just need to tune it better and find a way to still be authoritative and go from there.
But to meet you in the pub after and you said, oh, mate, I was in the wings like having a panic attack. And we would never have known.
And weirdly, I don't know why, but I can't remember that one specifically. I think because I've got used to dealing with them over the past few years. They don't happen very often. But the first time I ever had a really bad one, when I definitely knew I didn't really know I was heading into. No, I did. It was when we came out of COVID and I was at Jamie, and it was before I was on HRT, and anxiety was one of my most prevalent symptoms. I could probably count on one hand how many times I've had a hot flush in this part of our lives that we're at. It all happens. People have different symptoms and some are worse than others, and anxiety. And I'd never had anxiety before in my life. Well, looking back now, I sort of think, oh, maybe that's what that feeling was when I was a teenager. You're not aware of it. But I was on stage, second act, and we went into this office scene, and I was sat in this office scene, and I was like, what? I could feel it wash over me, and I wanted to get off stage. I was like, get me off this stage. I cannot do this. I thought your breath gets shallow, all those things. And actually, I went straight back to my dressing room. I was tearing my clothes off me. I had to change costume anyway, but I was tearing them off me. And then the girl I was playing opposite with came. She was like, "What can I do? Anything I can do?" I was like, "No, I just need to. I need to tell it to go away." To be honest. But weirdly, that afternoon we'd had, because we were returning to work after COVID, the industry now are really tapping into using lots of companies now to help with mental health and help with stuff. And we just had our first session that afternoon, and they were talking about distraction therapies. Like, if you feel like you're getting in that, start naming everything blue in the room, or count from such, all those tools that to deal with. And I'd only learnt them that afternoon. So, and I knew that the next thing coming up for me was this big scene and He's My Boy, which is the big 11 o'clock number, massively emotional, technically really difficult song, big old song. And I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I don't think for a minute then I would have gone, I have to stop the show. I have to go off. Because also that's not really in me either, which, to be honest with you, it should be. You should be able to go, I can't do this. I need to stop. I think if you were in an office, you might go, I need to go home. I'm not feeling very well. Whereas, show must go on, but at what cost, Anyway, my friend Sejal said, I'll leave you to it. Water, everyone's I was like, I don't need people to fuss though, because then that's gonna. I remember going into the toilet, counting this, I think I was counting backwards from 300 or something like that. And I literally was telling it to evolve. I was like, I do not need you right now. You need to go away. I need you to leave me, go away. I don't need it right now. And I was like, right, how am I going to do He's My Boy? And I was getting calmer, but then I went to the stage and I thought, right, I just need to get through it technically, line by line, just really go through the techniques of thinking about where I'm placing, and don't think about the song or the lyric or what's happening to me right now. Just go on there and do it technically. And I did, got through it. I'm pretty sure I could probably hold my hand up and say that nobody knew that was happening to me. And then came off stage and bawled my eyes out. Then it came out. But I knew I'd had to get to that. I'd got to get through that and over that to get off stage. And then I could do whatever I needed to do. But when it hits you in the middle of a show that had never happened to me before in my life. And now, when you said that when you came to see me, I don't know why I can't specifically remember that day, but I think it's probably because I'm so used to going, breathing, riding the wave, a bit like a contraction, riding the wave and going, actually nothing is going to happen to me. Nothing bad's going to happen to me.
So what you're talking about there is mental resilience.
Yeah.
So it literally is mind over physical matter, isn't it? At that point.
Yeah.
Which I think is, I'm so happy that you're talking about this, because I know for a fact, having watched you and you telling me that happened to you when I was watching you, that we don't see it, we don't know it. You are overcoming it and you are getting on with it, even though you're going through that level of anxiety. And what is happening, which is amazing, is you're going through it and you're coming out of the other side, and it might not be very nice, but you know that you are okay because you've actually done it. So you've proved to yourself you can get through that horrible feeling. It's a physical thing. It's not just like a horrible emotion. It takes over your whole body. Yeah, but you can get through it, and that you're going to be okay. So you've proved to yourself that you will.
Yeah.
And that just strengthens your resilience and capability.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that you share that story, because there are so many people out there who think, I can't cope, I won't be okay. So therefore, hold themselves back and don't do stuff.
Because if it happens to them once, they'll think, oh, I tried that. I tried speaking in front of a load of people once, and I got so nervous I'd never do it again.
Yeah.
But you can write, and it's and like you said, come out the other side, and it's just like another tool for your kit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not to say that you should and that you have to keep pushing through. Some days there are days where I'm at home, everyone's out, I'm tired, I've done 8 shows or whatever, it's Monday. And if I feel like that, it's all right to lean into it as well.
Yeah.
And just take the day to just think, oh, you know what? That's taking its toll on me, and I can actually ride it a bit longer today and just let myself settle.
Yeah, I must admit, because I get really nervous before I go on stage. More nervous now, actually, when I'm delivering a keynote, because it's me and I can't hide behind a character. So I get really nervous, and I actually now factor in days off after speaking where I don't have to speak to anyone
Yeah.
and I can just
Yeah.
recover.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to do it.
Yeah. I've
Um,
only learned to do that over the past few years. And in fact, it was my husband that had said to me on a 2 show, especially after having the girls, if you have 2 on a Wednesday, on a Thursday, don't make a plan for Thursdays. And I used to be very good at filling my diary. I must see that person. I must do this. I must do this. But over the past few years, I've learned to just say no. and he said, and just don't do anything on a Thursday. Rest and recover. And I was like, crikey, okay, that's alien to me. All right. But it's vital.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Time to Speak. If you'd like to listen to more, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and the podcast page on my website, audriewoodhouse.com. This podcast is brought to you by Audrie Woodhouse Honestly Speaking Limited. See you soon.